I should have known the night was off the second I pulled into the driveway and saw her car parked crooked, like she'd just tossed it there after a getaway. Vanessa had always been meticulous about appearances. Lipstick never smudged, nails always perfect, Range Rover parked exactly 2 inches from the curb. That night, she'd left it half-cocked across the line like a teenager late for curfew. Inside, I found her in the laundry room, folding clothes she never touched when I was around. That was my ritual, my little corner of control. And then she said it, dry, sharp, not even looking at me. "You're lucky I even let you touch me." The towel slipped out of my hands, but I didn't flinch. That laugh of hers, hollow, like an empty bottle, still rang in my ears. I didn't shout, didn't beg. I just folded the last t-shirt from the stack, the one from the state fair we went to before she found herself, through Pilates instructors with suspiciously shiny teeth. I folded it neatly, set it down, and walked out. That's when her phone buzzed in the hallway. A giggle, then another. I didn't even need to check. I already knew. Her voice changed when she texted him. Lighter, girlish. She hadn't spoken to me like that in years. And here's the thing. I wasn't some sloppy husband clinging to the scraps of a crumbling marriage. I built machines that could carve titanium to half a human hair's width. I ran 20 men who didn't dare miss a measurement. But in that house, I'd been reduced to a placeholder. And placeholders don't argue. We execute. So, I went to my office, opened the drawer, pulled out the oak box I carved myself years ago. It was supposed to hold cufflinks. Instead, it was empty, waiting. The laptop hummed to life, the folder blinking at me from the desktop like it knew tonight was the night. Emails, texts, receipts. Every breadcrumb she thought she'd hidden, every pattern she thought I hadn't noticed. Funny thing about betrayal, it always leaves fingerprints. And I was the kind of man who noticed fingerprints. I printed the first batch of emails, slid them into the oak box, and whispered to myself like a promise. Not angry, not sad, just ready. That night, I didn't sleep. Not out of torment, but out of precision. Vanessa thought she'd married a man who wouldn't notice details. The truth? I built my life on them. At 2 a.m., I was still in the office, the desk lamp spotlighting the oak box like it was an altar. Inside, the stack was growing. Printed emails from her realtor friend about weekends away, receipts from hotels that magically never showed up in our joint account, screenshots of texts she thought disappeared into the cloud. She never realized the iPad in the guest room was still synced to her phone. To her, tech was just wires and chargers. To me, it was leverage. The first message that stung wasn't even the obvious filth. It was this. He's nice but dull. A placeholder. My life started late. That one I read twice. Then I smiled slow. Because placeholders don't fight back, they prepare. By morning, I was buttering toast like nothing had shifted, while Vanessa floated into the kitchen wearing that smug little robe. She kissed my cheek, her tone sugary. "You're sweet," she said, scrolling through her phone. "See? I knew you'd get over it." "Over it?" I asked. "Calm. Even." She didn't even look up. "You were moody yesterday. I figured you'd come around." She thought I was forgiving her. What I was really doing was staging her exit. Later that week, I started moving funds. Quietly. Years of overtime and smart investments gave me more wiggle room than she ever suspected. She spent, I saved. She thought the Range Rover was hers. I'd made sure the title wasn't. She thought the brokerage account was joint. It wasn't. Meanwhile, she was busy rehearsing her second act. Dinner, meetings, Pilates at odd hours, sudden bursts of laughter in the bathroom at midnight. If she wanted to pretend I was blind, fine. I'd play along. Let her believe I was slow, dull, buffering. One night, she said it outright. "Logan, you move through life like you're buffering." She said it in front of friends, and they all laughed. I raised my glass, smiled, and replied, "Maybe, but buffering always ends in a full picture." She didn't catch it. None of them did. By then, I already had copies of her texts backed up 3 times. Flash drive, cloud, and one mailed to a lawyer across town in a plain manila envelope. Insurance. I wasn't collecting just for me. I was building the kind of case that ends arguments before they start. And while she was sleeping soundly next to me, drooling into her silk pillowcase, I stared at the ceiling and thought, "You're not clever, Vanessa. You're predictable. And predictable people make excellent opponents." The funny thing about betrayal is how ordinary the days look while it's happening. The dishwasher still hums, the mail still piles up, The neighbors still wave when you mow the lawn. Meanwhile, you're quietly rewriting the ending of a marriage. I started testing her. Small things. Hey, Vanessa, do you want me to drive you to your Tuesday dinner? She blinked. Too fast. Oh, no, no. It's a client dinner. You'd be bored. I nodded, made a mental note. Tuesday was Pilates night last week. Another time, I asked casually, how's Ridge Hill this time of year? Her fork froze midair. What? Ridge Hill? I repeated. Didn't Celeste mention a property out there? She smiled too wide, the kind of grin you paste on when you're stalling. Oh, yeah. Nice place. What? Just curious, I said, and went back to my steak. That was the game. Baiting hooks. Watching her squirm. And every time she lied, I tucked another piece of proof into the oak box. Meanwhile, I kept up appearances. Still made coffee for us in the mornings. Still asked about her day. She thought I was checking out. In reality, I was checking everything. One Friday night, she tried to play affectionate wife again. Came downstairs in her robe, hair pinned up, voice soft. You didn't say goodnight. I figured you were tired of touching me, I said with a smile. Her eyes narrowed. You're being dramatic. No, I replied slowly. I'm being careful. She laughed it off, but I saw the flicker in her eyes. A crack in the facade. The truth was, she underestimated me. Always had. She thought I was the kind of man who avoided conflict out of fear. Wrong. I avoided conflict because I liked precision. Precision wins wars, emotions lose them. By then, I'd already spoken to a lawyer. Quietly, of course. I slid him the flash drive. He raised his brows. This is enough to bury her in court, he said. I shrugged. I'm not done yet. Because while she was busy sneaking around hotel lobbies and contractors, I wasn't just thinking about divorce. I was thinking about leverage. And leverage, in the right hands, is far crueler than rage. By the time fall rolled around, I knew more about Vanessa's schedule than she did. That wasn't paranoia, it was logistics. She'd gotten sloppy, and I was meticulous. A dangerous combination. She thought she was orchestrating her little escape. In reality, I was the conductor, and she was just a loud instrument I hadn't muted yet. I remember one particular Tuesday, her Pilates night. She kissed me on the cheek, perfume a little too heavy, hair done like she was meeting royalty. I watched her drive off, then followed a few blocks behind. She didn't notice. She never noticed. Her Range Rover pulled into the Burstone Hotel. The same wallpaper I'd seen in that shirtless contractor's selfie on her phone. I parked down the street, engine off, and just sat there. I didn't feel rage. That's the thing nobody tells you. By the time you see betrayal with your own eyes, the anger's already burned out. What's left is cold, deliberate clarity. I didn't march in. Didn't drag her out by the wrist. No scenes. I snapped a photo from the driver's seat, her car parked outside. Time-stamped. Dated. Another nail for the box. Then I drove home, poured myself a scotch, and watched the clock. 10:42 p.m. She slipped back into the driveway. She smelled faintly of lavender soap and someone else's cologne. She floated into the kitchen, humming, and kissed my cheek again. Long Pilates session? I asked. She grinned, oblivious. Extra reps. I nodded. Good for you. And that was it. No shouting, no fireworks. Just another piece of rope for her to hang herself with. A week later, I played my hand a little differently. I started removing myself from her orbit, strategically. She'd come downstairs in the mornings, expecting me to have coffee ready. Some days, I didn't bother. She'd frown, pour her own, then stalk out the door without a word. Other nights, when she wanted to spar, I didn't rise to it. She'd make some biting comment about how quiet I was, or how I never had anything interesting to say anymore. Instead of firing back, I smiled, sipped my drink, and said, not every move needs to be loud. She hated that. By November, I had everything. Hotel receipts, call logs, screenshots, even a GPS ping that placed her conference weekend in the exact same resort as her little boyfriend. The oak box was full now, fat with evidence. But here's the thing, I didn't just want to leave her. That would have been too easy, too expected. She thought she'd get half the house, half the savings, maybe even sympathy from her Instagram circle of wineglass warriors. No, she'd get nothing, less than nothing. So I started building my parallel plan. Step 1, finances. I transferred certain accounts out of reach. Legally clean, quietly done. She never noticed because she didn't know what was hers and what was mine. She only knew what she spent. Step 2, her reputation. I compiled a neat little folder, not for court, but for distribution. Screenshots, photos, a timeline of her lies. Labeled, dated, unarguable. A dossier of her downfall. Step 3. The bait. I needed her to reveal herself in front of me. Not just hints, not just slips of the tongue. An open betrayal, where she felt confident enough to rub it in. That's when people overplay their hand. That's when they get sloppy. It didn't take long. December. Holiday party season. Vanessa came downstairs in a red dress I hadn't seen before, too short for her usual realtor gigs. Big client party tonight, she chirped, spinning once like she was auditioning for approval. Who's the client? I asked casual. She froze for a fraction of a second, too quick for most people to notice, but I wasn't most people. Then she smiled. Celeste's firm. Just a small gathering. I nodded. Take the Range Rover. I'll take the sedan tomorrow. She kissed me on the cheek. Don't wait up. Of course I did. I gave her a head start, then checked the tracker I'd hidden in the Rover's glove compartment. Not Celeste's firm. Not even close. Straight to Ridge Hill. I didn't follow this time. Didn't need to. The tracker logged everything. And by 2:13 a.m., she was back, heels in her hand, lipstick smudged. She slipped upstairs, humming. The next morning, I was at the stove, flipping pancakes. She patted in, yawning, acting like she'd actually slept. Good party? I asked, plate sliding onto the counter. She said through a sip of coffee. Tiring, though. I smiled. You must have really worked the room. She smirked, not catching the double meaning. You have no idea. That was the moment. That arrogance. That smug little smirk. She thought she was untouchable. I slid a folder onto the counter. Not the oak box, not the full arsenal, just a teaser. A couple of photos, a receipt, one screenshot. Enough to make her heart skip. Her face drained of color. She flipped through, eyes darting up to me. What is this? Evidence, I said calmly, cutting into a pancake. And that's just the appetizer. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. You've been spying on me? No, I corrected. I've been documenting you. There's a difference. She tried to laugh it off, but it cracked halfway through. You wouldn't dare. I leaned forward. Vanessa, I don't threaten. I execute. Silence. The kind that weighs a room down. Then she snapped the folder shut and hissed. You won't win. I smiled, slow and sharp. That's the difference between us. You think it's a game. I already won. That day, I didn't go to work. I drove to my lawyer's office, handed him the full oak box, and signed the papers. Divorce, clean and airtight, with everything she thought was hers stripped away. But I didn't serve them yet. No, Vanessa still had one more act to play, and I wanted her to feel safe before I pulled the floor out from under her. That was the cruel part. Not the divorce, not the evidence. The waiting. Letting her walk around thinking she'd gotten away with it. Letting her plan her little future with her contractor or whoever was next in line. Because when the papers landed, they wouldn't just end the marriage. They'd end the version of herself she'd built online, in her wine glasses and Range Rover selfies, pretending she was the prize. She thought I was the placeholder. But placeholders don't get the last word. Predators do. And I was done pretending I wasn't one. When people picture revenge, they think of fireworks, loud, messy, impossible to miss. But the truth is, the cruelest kind of revenge is quiet. It's subtle. It's the kind you don't even realize is happening until you're already standing on the trapdoor. Vanessa was standing on hers. She just hadn't heard the creak yet. By January, she'd grown bolder. She thought she'd train me into passivity, like I was some old dog too tired to bark. She'd stay out later, answer texts in plain sight, leave her phone face up on the counter like she was daring me to look. She wanted me jealous, angry, shouting, something she could point to and say, see? That's why I left him. He's controlling. He's unstable. Instead, I smiled. I made her breakfast. I even told her she looked great when she came downstairs in dresses that weren't meant for me. Oh, she'd say, blinking, almost confused. Thanks. That confusion was the first crack. The second came the night I caught her whispering on the phone in the garage. I wasn't eavesdropping. She was just careless. Her laugh carried through the door. Of course I'll leave him, she said, her voice pitched high with excitement. It's practically done. He won't even fight me on it. He's too boring, too predictable. I leaned against the banister upstairs, listening. She had no idea I was a step ahead on every front. Financially, legally, strategically. Predictable? Maybe. But predictable is just another word for prepared. When she finally came back in, cheeks flushed, I handed her a glass of wine. "You look happy," I said. She smiled smug. "I am. And that was fine. I wanted her happy. The happier she was, the harder the crash would be. Now, here's where things took a turn. My lawyer called me one afternoon, voice low but amused. "She's already sniffing around for representation," he said. "Doesn't know we've got the jump." Perfect. We went through the strategy one more time. Airtight prenup clauses she'd forgotten, titles in my name, accounts she couldn't touch. I'd even quietly shifted the deed of the house into a trust, one she wasn't part of. On paper, she'd get nothing but her personal belongings. Not the house, not the cars, not the retirement. But the real revenge wasn't financial. It was social. See, Vanessa's whole identity was built on appearances. She wasn't just a wife or a realtor. She was a brand. Instagram perfect brunches, motivational quotes about finding yourself, endless selfies and staged open houses. Her image was her currency, and I had the power to bankrupt it. Remember that folder? Screenshots, receipts, timelines. I didn't just keep them for court. I prepared them for distribution, curated, formatted, impossible to refute. I even gave it a name, Vanessa Unfiltered. The next move was bait. One evening, I told her, I booked us a weekend away, just the two of us, somewhere quiet, maybe Ridge Hill. Her eyes went wide. For a second, I thought she might choke on her wine. Ridge Hill? Why there? I shrugged. Heard it was nice this time of year. She recovered quickly, forced a laugh. You're so random sometimes. But I saw it in her eyes, the flicker of panic. She knew I knew something. She just didn't know how much. That weekend, she made up an excuse about feeling sick, claimed she couldn't go. I went alone. Checked into the very resort she'd been sneaking off to. Recognized the wallpaper instantly, the same one from her boyfriend's mirror selfie. I asked the desk clerk, casually, if Mrs. Harper had been a guest recently. He checked. Oh yes, several times. With her husband, I assume. I smiled. Of course. And that little printout slid straight into the oak box. By February, I was ready. The oak box was full, my lawyer prepped, finances locked down. But I wasn't going to be the one to detonate her little fantasy. No, the best revenge is when the guilty expose themselves. So I waited. Sure enough, one Tuesday night, she came into the kitchen, lips pressed tight like she was holding back a smile. "Logan," she said, setting her phone down. "We need to talk." I leaned back, hands folded. "Go on. I think it's time we'd separated. We're just not happy anymore." "We?" I asked, amused. "Yes," she said firmly. "I've already spoken to someone about moving forward. I'll be fair, don't worry. We can split the house, the accounts. I don't want to fight." I chuckled. "Vanessa, you don't want to fight because you can't win one." Her face twisted. "Excuse me." I slid the oak box across the counter. She opened it, expecting what? Love letters? Instead, she found herself staring at her own betrayal. Receipts, photos, screenshots, hotel logs, timelines. Every lie cataloged. She flipped page after page, her hands trembling. "You've been spying on me?" "No," I said evenly. "I've been preparing." She looked up, pale. "If you think you can humiliate me." I cut her off. "Oh, I don't think." "I know." That night, I didn't serve her the papers. Not yet. I wanted her stewing, panicking, second-guessing every move. And while she tossed in bed, pretending to sleep, I was wide awake, staring at the ceiling with one thought circling in my head. This isn't the end. This is the prelude. Because Vanessa thought the worst thing that could happen was divorce. She thought she'd walk away with her dignity intact, rebuild herself with a new man, and post filtered photos about fresh starts. But she'd underestimated me. Again, the real revenge wasn't the legal slam dunk. It wasn't the money, or the house, or even the evidence. It was what came after, what she would never see coming until it was too late. And the cruelest part? She thought she was in control. She thought she'd outsmarted me. Meanwhile, every move she made was a step deeper into the pit I'd dug. I didn't need to chase her. I didn't need to scream, or beg, or threaten. I just needed to wait. Because when the trapdoor opened, she wouldn't even realize she'd been standing on it the whole time. The morning after she declared her separation, Vanessa strutted around the house like she was auditioning for freedom. She hummed while pouring coffee, tapped away on her phone with the kind of smug energy only a guilty conscience can produce. She thought she'd just staged her dramatic exit, and I was supposed to crumble like some abandoned sitcom husband. Instead, I buttered my toast and asked, "So, when's your lawyer sending over the draft?" She blinked. "What? You said you've already spoken to someone. So when do I get the papers?" Her mouth opened, then closed again. I could almost hear her brain scrambling for a line. Finally, she smirked. "Soon." I nodded. "Good. I'll look out for them." I said it so casually that for the first time, she frowned. A little shadow of doubt crept across her face. She wanted me rattled. Instead, I looked like a man who'd already ordered dessert before the appetizer arrived. That day, I sent an email. Not to her, not to her so-called lawyer, but to the HR department of her brokerage firm. Attached, screenshots, time-stamped texts, even the photo of her and Mr. Contractor cuddled up at the Burstone when she claimed to be at a company retreat. Subject line, pattern of unethical behavior. I didn't need them to fire her. I just needed the seed planted. Offices thrive on gossip. A single whisper spreads faster than fact. And Vanessa was about to become the star of every water cooler conversation. A few nights later, she staged her little performance. Came home late, smelling like cheap cologne and lavender soap, hair disheveled. She walked in holding her heels, like some romance movie heroine who'd just danced the night away. "Long day?" I asked, sipping tea on the couch. Her smile was coy. "You could say that." I let my eyes linger on her just a little too long, then turned back to the TV. Hope it was worth it. That rattled her. I saw it. She wanted me jealous, demanding answers. Instead, I gave her indifference. And indifference terrifies narcissists more than rage ever could. The first visible crack came at a family dinner. Her sister was in town, and Vanessa had insisted we host. I played the dutiful husband, cooking, pouring wine, cracking jokes. Halfway through dessert, her sister leaned in and whispered, "Is it true?" Vanessa stiffened. "What's true?" Her sister shrugged, trying to play it off. "People at the office are saying things." I didn't believe it, but I sipped my drink, expression neutral. Vanessa's face flushed red. "Office gossip," she snapped. "People love to tear down a woman who's succeeding." Her sister looked at me for confirmation. I simply smiled and said, "Vanessa does keep herself busy." The silence that followed was delicious. That night, she exploded. "You're doing this," she hissed, storming into the bedroom. "You're spreading lies about me." I closed my book, calm as ever. "Lies? Which part's a lie?" Her eyes darted, searching for ground. "You're pathetic. You can't handle me moving on, so you're trying to ruin me." I set the book down, stood, and leaned close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet my eyes. "Vanessa, you don't get it yet, do you? I'm not ruining you. You ruined yourself. I'm just letting everyone else see it." She opened her mouth, but no sound came. Just a small, hollow gape, like a fish on a dock. I left her standing there and went downstairs for another cup of tea. Meanwhile, my lawyer and I finalized the paperwork. Divorce petition, asset division, evidence attached like neat little nails in her coffin. But I still wasn't ready to serve her. Timing mattered. She needed to walk into her own downfall, confident she was untouchable, before the floor gave way. So I let her prance. I let her post Instagram selfies with captions about choosing happiness. I let her flirt openly at parties, even while people whispered behind her back. I let her think she was winning. Because the cruelest defeat isn't being beaten. It's realizing you were never even in the game. The next step was financial. One by one, her little luxuries disappeared. Her credit card? Declined at a boutique. I'd quietly rerouted payments and canceled her access to the joint account. Her Range Rover? Repo Man showed up at 6 a.m., right in front of the neighbors. She shrieked, tried to argue, but the title wasn't in her name. It never had been. The brokerage firm called her in to discuss conduct. She came home pale, lips pressed tight. She didn't tell me what they said, but I knew. HR doesn't call you in for a chat unless the ship's already sinking. Each blow chipped away at her carefully constructed image. And each time, I played dumb. "That's strange," I'd say when she complained about her card not working. "Really?" I'd mumble when she ranted about the dealership being mistaken. "Maybe they just needed clarification," I'd suggest when she muttered about HR. She knew. Deep down, she knew. But she couldn't prove it. And watching her squirm in that uncertainty was better than any shouting match could ever be. By March, Vanessa was unraveling. Her makeup got heavier, her smiles tighter, her laughter brittle. The man she'd been sneaking off with? Suddenly less visible. I suspected he'd gotten wind of the mess swirling around her and decided she wasn't worth the fallout. Men like him never stick around once the shine wears off. One night, she sat at the dining table, staring at her phone, scrolling furiously. I walked past and said, "Careful. People might start thinking you're alone." Her head snapped up, eyes blazing. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" I poured myself a drink, calm as a surgeon. "Immensely. That week, I called my lawyer." "Serve her," I said. The papers went out Friday morning. Vanessa was at her office when the courier walked in and handed her the envelope. I knew because 10 minutes later, she called me, voice shaking. "You bastard," she hissed. "You actually did it." I smiled into the phone. "No, Vanessa. You did it. I just signed the forms." Click. That night, she came home late, mascara smeared, hair a mess. She didn't even try to argue. She just stood in the doorway, breathing hard, glaring at me like I'd personally stolen her crown. "You won't get away with this," she whispered. I walked over, stopped inches from her face, and said softly, "Vanessa, I already have." She looked like she might break right there. But I left her standing in the doorway, walked upstairs, and went to bed. Because here's the truth. Divorce wasn't the revenge. Taking her money, her car, her reputation, that wasn't it either. The real revenge was simpler. It was showing her that every time she thought she was clever, she was already standing on a trap I'd set weeks earlier. It was proving to her that the placeholder she mocked was the one who'd been playing chess while she barely managed checkers. And it was making sure that when the world saw her fall, she'd know exactly whose hand had pulled the lever. And the cruelest part? I was only just getting started. Vanessa spent the first week after the papers pretending she wasn't rattled. She walked around the house on the phone, voice pitched high, dropping phrases like amicable split and fresh start. She even posted a photo of herself with a glass of rose captioned, "Stronger than ever flexed biceps sparkles." But here's the thing. People weren't buying it anymore. Her friends, the ones she'd been bragging to for months, suddenly got quiet. Invitations stopped coming. The phone buzzed less. Because when the gossip mill churns, people don't pick sides. They just don't want to be next in line. One night, I heard her whispering again. "He's making it impossible." No, I didn't know about the trust. "I can't afford." She stopped mid-sentence when she saw me in the hallway. Her face went pale. "You okay?" I asked, sipping water. She forced a smile. "Fine." But the panic was there now. She'd built her empire on lies and credit cards, and both were slipping through her hands. The real fun began when the dossier, Vanessa Unfiltered, finally saw daylight. I didn't leak it myself. That would have been sloppy. No, I mailed it anonymously to one person, Celeste, her dear realtor friend. And if you've ever met realtors, you know they thrive on two things: commissions and gossip. By the following Monday, the entire brokerage knew about Vanessa's double life. Screenshots, hotel receipts, the whole parade. Clients started canceling listings. The firm put her on leave. Her Instagram went dark. She stormed into the house that night, eyes wild. "You," she screamed. "You did this." I looked up from the couch. "Did what?" "Don't play dumb with me," she spat. "You ruined my reputation." I tilted my head. "Vanessa, you did that yourself. I just kept the receipts." She collapsed into a chair, hands shaking. "You're destroying me." I leaned forward, calm, precise. "No, I'm dismantling you. Piece by piece. It's slower, more educational." By spring, she was out of the house. Not by choice, by necessity. Her cards were declined. Her car was gone. Her brokerage cut her loose. She tried staying with the contractor for a while, but that fizzled the second he realized she came with more baggage than glamour. Men like him want shiny toys, not broken furniture. I heard through the grapevine she moved into a rented condo across town. Smaller than our garage. No Range Rover selfies, no wine glass brunches. Just silence. She called once, late at night. Her voice was raw, stripped of all its usual armor. "Logan," she whispered, "can't we just talk? Start over?" I didn't laugh, didn't gloat. I just said, "No, Vanessa. You don't start over after burning the bridge. You swim." Then I hung up, and here's the twist, the part no one, not even Vanessa, saw coming. The divorce finalized. I kept the house, the accounts, the cars. She walked away with a suitcase and a Resume 2 stain to save. But I didn't stop there. Remember that oak box? The one where I kept every shred of evidence. After the dust settled, I didn't burn it. I mailed it to her. Every photo, every receipt, every lie in her own handwriting. No note, no explanation, just the box. Why? Because people can survive losing money, homes, even marriages. But waking up every day with a box full of your own betrayals staring back at you? That's a prison you can't leave. The last I heard, she tried to pitch herself as a life coach online. It lasted about 3 weeks before someone dragged her old posts back into the spotlight and the comments section ate her alive. As for me, I sleep fine. Better than fine. I rebuilt quietly. Got leaner, sharper, calmer. Because revenge isn't about rage. It's about control. And I never lost mine. Vanessa thought I was a placeholder. A background character in her glamorous little play. But in the end, she was wrong. I was the writer. And I wrote her out.